Hello, welcome to the match reaction video here on Latte Firm. Dominik Szoboszlai's brilliant free kick has unfortunately given Liverpool all the points at Anfield as Arsenal succumb to their first defeat of this new Premier League season. Welcome to the show. Lots to talk about. We're going to talk about individual performances. We're going to talk about the gaffer's decision-making in terms of the lineup and players he picked, players he didn't pick. We'll talk about match stats and just a general feeling about it. I got to rip the plaster off straight away. Obviously, very disappointed to lose the game. Never easy to make content under such circumstances. Was really excited about the fixture. Thought we had a chance of really laying one on Liverpool today and getting the 3 points, but it wasn't meant to be. And now we have our tails between our legs. And it is a disappointing feeling, one of regret, one of guttedness, one of heartbreak. But we're going to try and talk about it, try and sort of understand where it all went wrong for Arsenal. So welcome to the show. Viggs was first in the house. Says this game is on Arteta, a midfield three of Rice, Zubimendi and Marino for no reason. I want to see people defend Martinelli as well. One of the worst wingers in the league. Eze did more in 5 minutes than number 11. We are going to talk about all of the above, Viggs. Welcome to the show. Louis, the media coverage is so bad. We saw what Fergie and Marino used to do, but they got their praise. I watched so many boring Liverpool versus Manchester City games that ended in draws because Klopp and Pep didn't want to lose, he goes on to say. With Arsenal, there's so many thoughts I've got about our sort of lineup, our approach. Just a little bit too cautious in the end after what was, I thought, a brilliant first half, but we'll get to that later. Emrah, welcome, says, incredibly disappointing to have lost that. Arteta was too conservative. Great word, in my opinion. Eze should have started. A cowardly choice for midfield by Mikel Arteta, says Saps. That is all. Thank you, Saps. Yeah, I kind of lean towards that, to be fair. Wilb says, how is Martinelli on the pitch instead of Eberechi Eze? How much worse can playing Eze instead be? Arteta playing a conservative midfield gave 3 points to Liverpool from the start. I'm not sure we gave 3 points to Liverpool from the start, but I get what you mean about the starting lineup. It was an uphill battle once you name such a flat midfield three. All the chat's coming in nice and fast. Karen, welcome to the show. Hello. Hope everyone is well. Otherwise, frustrating loss. I like little Gabby, but I just can't understand why none of the coaching staff have taught him to look up. He was receiving the ball at least 2 times in that first half, looking down at the ground. Like, really frustrating. He says he was so busy looking at his feet that he missed Vicky. Indeed, he did. Victor Gyökeres, of course, playing up front. Hopefully, Willow misses the international break. His ankle is better when we play next. Although I did think that Christian Mosquera played well. Yeah, William Saliba off injured early. I hope that's nothing too serious. Doesn't look good. We are going to have to wait and see. Vlad, welcome to the show, says that was disappointing, FK. We kept them quiet very well, but Mikel didn't go for it. He needs to be less risk-averse at times. We go again, though. Come on, you Gunners. Yeah, it's always a bitter pill to swallow going into an international break as well. It just makes it feel so much worse. It manifests in your mind, and you just kind of go round and round, sort of thinking about the game, thinking about the performance, thinking what it means on our potential league title challenge. Logical Nonsense, welcome, says, looks like the new attackers are going to need time to gel. Mosquera, though, wow, thought we were cooked when Saliba went down. Obviously, bitter pill. As soon as Saliba goes down and sort of signals and wants to go off, your heart breaks because you're just like, why? Of all games, of all fixtures, of all grounds, you need him and Gabriel at the back. But Mosquera came on. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. This is a guy who was just chucked in last minute, wasn't expecting to play, probably expecting to be an unused sub today, but came on and really, really earned his money today. Fantastic performance from him. And the new attackers, you're absolutely right. Look, Odegaard was injured. Maybe he wasn't 100% fit, hence starting on the bench. Eberechi Eze, as great as a player he is, he's probably had, 2-3 training sessions with the boys. He's getting used to the team, but good enough to start, in my opinion. We'll come on to that shortly. Guna73, Dave, welcome to the show, says, so gutted. Liverpool's defence was there to be attacked, and we didn't try. DJ Ash, so disappointed, mate. We played with the handbrake on. That's another great way to describe it, isn't it? The old handbrake. And we seem to be good defensively, but attacking seems to be Mikel's kryptonite. Look, we can attack. I think just being a little bit bolder, more courageous, more expansive in the bigger games is what Mikel needs to work on. I think we can attack. We've got the players to do it, but we, from the get-go, we were just too conservative. Let's bring up the lineups, courtesy of PremierLeague.com. So you can see here Liverpool on the left-hand side. Milos Kerkez played pretty well. I the first couple of games that he's had for Liverpool, he looked a little bit iffy. Thought there was maybe some room there for Noni Madueke to exploit him, and I thought Madueke had him on toast in that first half, but Milos Kerkez recovered well in that second. Van Dijk and Konate, fabulous defenders. You know what you're going to get with them. Victor Gyökeres didn't really get much change out of those two, and he will perform very well against most defenses in the Premier League. But today you're coming up against an exceptional pairing and an exceptional individual in Van Dijk. And Dominik Szoboszlai. James and I said in the pre-match preview, this was an area that I wanted Arsenal to exploit. And we tried it, to be fair, with Gabby Martinelli down that left-hand side, but it was executed so poorly. I don't want to pile on Gabby Martinelli. Obviously not one of his best days out. We talked again in the match preview show that we like what he does off the ball, and actually at Anfield he tends to shine. Today was not one of those days, and he looks a player void of confidence. He looks a player void of ideas. I don't think he likes to have time on the ball. Like, he just doesn't know what to do with it, overcomplicates everything. He's just got to get back to basics. I think he's really low on confidence. Sofiane says, Martinelli, that is all. I'm coming on to Marino in just a second. Hold your breath. Kaleem, welcome from Colombia. Says, evening. City have lost plenty of times at Anfield and gone on to be champions. Fair point. For me, the setup was too conservative, but it almost worked. We go again. Martinelli, it's a shame, but he's done. Nelly, so frustrating, says Logical Nonsense. As we go through the Liverpool side, look, McAllister was back after his sort of paternity leave, playing alongside Gravenberch, and then they obviously had Florian Wirtz alongside Salah, Gakpo, and Hugo Ekitike. Now, for us, I mean, two big things. A, William Saliba. You can't predict these things. It's completely horrendous fortune. He goes off early, and it completely disrupts your game plan. We've talked about Christian Mosquera, comes on, does a brilliant job. The midfield, though, is where I think we lost today's game. You cannot be so flat against a Liverpool team. Marino, Zubimendi, and Declan Rice. I thought Zubimendi played okay in that first half. Declan Rice, a bit too safe, I would say, today. And Marino is Marino. You have to have an attacking midfielder. You have to have someone who plays literally in between those two lines there, picks up the balls in pockets of space to try and join the midfield to the attack. And we missed it. And I know both Eze and Ødegaard came on at 70 minutes. But you've got to play one of them. If Ødegaard is fit enough to be on the bench, start him. If Eze is fit and ready to go, he is of such a caliber, you've got to play him. £68 million you've paid for him. And you've basically been too cautious by not playing him at Anfield. Really disappointing. Now, up top, Madueke, Gyökeres, and of course, we were thinking about who might start on that left-hand side. Could it have been Eberechi Eze? It probably should have been, but it was Gabby Martinelli, and it's obviously easy to say with hindsight, but I think a lot of us felt that before the lineups were announced, and there's tweets to kind of prove that, to be fair. Really disappointing. Rory95 says, I've seen praise for Zubimendi, but he's been poor for us so far. Shocker against United, and today was very sloppy early on against Leeds. I think that's harsh. I don't think he's been sloppy. I don't think he's been poor. I don't think he had a shocker either against United. I think he's just going to need a bit of time to bed in. You can see he's got quality. That first half in particular, I thought we were really good. Audu says, we didn't go for it, and it's so annoying, and it's come up a few times. We'll talk about Arteta's record at the bigger grounds later today. Anajit says, extremely pragmatic approach. You have to be braver with this team. Starting 11 showed the mentality. I can't argue that. I can't argue that. When you think about the lineup that we played, I think I tweeted before the game, no Eze, no Ødegaard. What are we doing? You're going to Anfield. They haven't looked like their pristine selves, and you have a chance to go and lay one on your biggest title rival. And we've been so cautious in the lineup. Kay says Arteta is a coward. The sooner he goes, the better. Come on, we can't start this. The gaffer's done so much amazing stuff for Arsenal. We are not talking about Arteta out at this stage. Audi says, Trossard would have given more than Martinelli did today. Always very easy to think about other players. Martinelli, though, something has to give. Maybe he just needs a couple of weeks out of the team. I don't know. Dave says, Martinelli offered nothing going forward. Marino wasn't needed in midfield, needed an extra attacker on the pitch in midfield. That's exactly my point. You've got to be more brave in midfield. The Alpha Male says the loss is on Arteta. Capital letters just to add the emphasis. Matthew says, poor choice to start Martinelli and Marino on the back foot from the start. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. When you line up as those three, you kind of invite Liverpool on to say, look, they're not going to really attack us as much. They're going to set up, sit behind the ball and try and get us on the break, which is pretty much what we tried to do each time. We had a lot of possession that first half, nice build-up play, just couldn't really do much with it. And that's what's disappointing. But you play without a creative attacking midfielder to try and, join the attackers up, and that's what you're going to get. So, yeah, really frustrating day. Very, very frustrating day. Mosquera was the bright spark in this game. We'll talk about bright sparks in a minute. DJ D10, evening to you, my friend. Welcome to the show. Don't like talking to you guys under these sorts of circumstances, but it feels like I just want to get some stuff off my chest and hear what you guys have to say. Vivlat says Saliba seems okay. Gave a thumbs up to the press when leaving the stadium, apparently. Oh, that's good news. That is good news. Hopefully he just misses the international friendlies, and hopefully he's back for our next fixture. Really, really important that he's not out for a long time. Colleen says Saliba rolled his ankle in the warm-up. I'd expect him to be back after the international break. There you go. Let's hope so. Omar, Martinelli, let's have a chat. Yeah, let's not. Let's move on to the match stats. Obviously, the game ended in defeat for Arsenal, 1-0 to Liverpool, our first defeat of this new Premier League season, and first goal conceded as well. Actually, just before we move on, David Raya. I mean, I thought the first half was really good from Arsenal. I thought we were playing some nice football. We were controlling in, possession. We tried to take the game to Liverpool, but of course they were, defensively quite resolute. We didn't really create much in that final third. Madueke, probably our highlight, but just very disappointing. But David Raya, there were moments in that half where your heart's in your mouth. At least 2 or 3 times, sort of passing it into really dangerous positions from within the penalty area. I don't know what's up with my nose. I've got a blocked nose, I think. Sorry about that. He just passed it into trouble. And sometimes you have to read the room. You're at Anfield against one of the best pressing teams in the country, against the current Premier League champions. The crowd is quiet. You do not want to give them any excuse to get excited, to smell blood, and to sort of get that sort of confidence or momentum. And David Raya's got to read the room, or read the temperature of the game, or however you want to describe it. He's done that a few times towards the back end of last season, and it's really beginning to make me a little bit nervous. Great goalkeeper, no doubt, but there's 1 or 2 moments in games where you just think, what are you doing? Let me know if I'm making sense. Raya is the least of our problems, says Jonathan. Back-to-back Golden Gloves, all on Arteta today. Be brave, fix the attack. Look, I agree with you. I'm not criticizing Raya for the defeat. Well, actually, you could say that he might have done better with the free kick. But yeah, I just think there are moments where you just don't need to do that. Defensively, I thought we were good. Midfield-wise, like I say, flat, void of ideas. Madueke was probably the highlight on that right-hand side. Martinelli disappointing. DJ D10 says, I think it's really healthy hosting these match reactions after losses. Much better than to wallow in misery alone. Remember that misery likes company. Yeah. Perspective. Should have been 0-0 at Old Trafford, but won because of a set piece. Should have been 0-0 at Anfield, but lost because of a set piece. Anfield is Arteta's mental block. Simple. Peter, welcome to the show. Says, I understand Raya is given an instruction to play from the back, but some of his decisions are insane. Like, we are living on the edge. He's flirting with danger all the time. Absolutely wild. Omar says Berta was at Anfield. Maybe he can see what we're lacking, and hopefully he gets a proper left winger. These are the stats on screen, courtesy of Cannon Stats. Awesome stats. Obviously, Liverpool won the game by a 0-0. XG of 0.3 for them, the home team. XG of 0.4 for us. We had 10 shots on goal, only 1 on target. They had 9 shots on goal, but mustered up 3 on target. Both teams creating 6 shots from open play. Liverpool bossed possession. Now that's surprised me, because I thought in the first half we had much more of the ball, and it felt like in the second half it was pretty much the same. But Liverpool edging possession there, that surprised me. More passes completed. We won the field tilt battle, but of course we've lost the game. More final third entries. I think we were comfortable against them in that first half, but of course in the second half Liverpool were much better. Look at that, 36 deep touches compared to their 19. Yeah, the stats don't make me feel any better. We got to be more effective in that final third. Got to be more creative. I mean, you had the answers, Mikel. You had Erdegaard. You had Eberechi Eza on the bench. You had them. They should have played. One of them should have started today's game. Disappointing. And this is what caution costs. Caution costs you points. Look at that first half. The attacking threat chart, again, courtesy of Cannon Stats. Bossed it in that first half. Liverpool came out in the second half. They were much better, to be fair. The goal then came, I think, in the 82nd, 83rd minute. Unbelievable goal. We'll come on to that in a moment. And we finished the game strong, and the game went deep into injury time, but we just couldn't muster up an attack on goal, and it was limp, I would say, in the end. Frustrating. 88 miles an hour. Welcome to the show. Says, remember, we can only afford 4 defeats all season. This is 1, 3 left. Gosh. Title number 14. Nice name. Says, this coward of a manager shat the bed again. No more excuses, no majors. He can get the F out. Ooh. Tony says, we didn't test their leaky defense. Yeah, we didn't. I mean, again, Szoboszlai at right back, Kirkest a new left back, who grew into the game, to be fair. But we couldn't lay a finger on them. Very, very frustrating. Really frustrating. But look, that is just how the football goes. John says, worst thing is that we have to sit on this defeat for weeks. Yeah, that's what I mean. The international break. I mean, like everything that we're going to do this week now, going into work tomorrow, school, university, whatever it is that you do, you're not going to have that same spring in your step. It's really, really frustrating. Really frustrating. We need to talk about Madueke, and we will. Sofiane says, I thought he was very good today. Clearly, he can beat his opponent 1v1 almost every time, and we're not used to having that when Saka's not around. Also, his pace, yeah, really, really impressive from Noni Madueke on that right-hand side where he is familiar, of course. But disappointing not to kind of, again, lay a finger. Very, very, very frustrating. Ross says it's a mentality thing with Mikel at places like Anfield and the Etihad. We'll come on to that in just a second. Let's talk about the goal. It was a moment of extraordinary brilliance. You gotta hold your hat out and doff your cap or whatever the phrase is. It was a brilliant free kick, really late in the game. I do wonder sometimes if it's worth even having a wall when the ball is so far out. Like, give the goalkeeper the best line of sight possible. You can track the flight of the ball a bit longer and maybe move to the ball a little bit quicker. But of course, it doesn't stop the opposition from planting players there. But it was a great free kick. I mean, the game was heading for a draw, and that would have been a fair result, I think, today. I think both teams respected each other. It was like a game of chess where we tried to make one move, they then tried to make moves, and it was sort of just locking heads in that first half and much more in the second half. And it was just a moment of brilliance, real moment of brilliance, smashing it in off the post. David Raya a little bit slow to that sort of side of his goal, but it was a great free kick, and maybe the moment that the game needed to kind of break the deadlock, because maybe out of open play, neither team was looking as if they'd score. But frustrating, really frustrating. Lots of chats coming in about Madueke. Hold that thought. We will come to that. Jonathan Kay says world-class free kick, post and in. And I'm not going to get I'm not going to get angry or upset about today. I think I'm frustrated, obviously, really disappointed with the lineup. You can't pick such a flat middle three, particularly when you're going to Anfield, and to concede a goal like that, it happens. It's an extraordinary strike, and you get them. But I think it was probably a game that should have ended in a draw, would have been probably the fair result, would have been quite happy with that. But I have to agree with Mikel Arteta sort of saying after the game that, we've drawn games here and we've played not as well as we did play today. And that's probably a weird positive to have, but there it is. Lewis says, I'm not here for overreaction. I usually don't even interact with anything after a loss. The fan base loses its head so easily. The fan base is sensitive at the moment. And listen, I get it, Lewis. It's because we're just so desperately craving silverware. We want this Premier League title. We know what we've done in the window. We know what weapons we have in the armory. And I'm afraid I've got to say it again. You go to Anfield. It's an opportunity to make a statement. That is what the club emailed us all today and tweeted in the morning. And you've gone there and you've lined up with Marino, Rice and Zubimendi as a flat middle three. You have to be bolder. You have to be more courageous. You have to go for the kill. And you have to go with the likes of Erdegaard and or Eza in a game like this. That's just how I feel. 0.03 XG on that Szoboszlai free kick. Wow, Vlad. Wow. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up. I mean, look, you can analyze, and I'm sure that the gaffer will analyze every last detail of that free kick. The wall could have been better. The keeper could have moved faster, but it's a great strike. And frustratingly for us, it's late in the game. Doesn't really give you much time to respond. I think Odegaard and Ezra had been on the pitch for about 15 minutes by that point, maybe not even that. And then, of course, young Max Dowman came on with about 2 minutes of normal time to go. Frustrating. Rather lose to a worldie than PGMOL, says Logical Nonsense. Yeah, I guess so. Yep, DJD10 says 0-0 would have been a fairer result, but hey, this happens. John says, Lewis, the fan base is tired of waiting. We are on edge. Well, I think that's what I meant. We're just craving a trophy so desperately. But this was the moment that sealed the deal, sealed the game for Liverpool, and unfortunately we couldn't find it within ourselves to respond. And we couldn't get back into the game. There were a couple of late moments, Ezra breaking into the penalty area. Should have shot earlier. I don't know what was going on there. Wasn't a pen. Dominik Szoboszlai, ball to arm. You'll see them given as a penalty later this season. Just obviously not today. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Shering Namgyal. Hopefully I've pronounced your name correctly. Forgive me if I've butchered it. My apologies, my friend. Thank you for the chat. Says, iTest tells me I'm proud of my team, even though we lost. Calafiori kept the PFA player anonymous. Let's hope the killer instinct kicks in the next game. Well, let's talk about key talking points. First up, William Saliba. Gutted that he has been injured. Hopefully, like many of you have said, thumbs up in the media tunnel after the game, leaving the stadium, and hopefully it's just absence during the international friendly break and that he's back soon. Christian Mosquera deserves immense praise, in my opinion. This is a young boy, who's come to a new country, a new club, knows that he's got two warriors ahead of him in Saliba and Gabriel. William Saliba or Gabriel, make no mistake, huge shoes to fill. And when Saliba goes down and goes off injured really early, you can bet he's excited, but the adrenaline's going and he's probably nervous, and he's come on and he's displayed an absolutely brilliant performance. Really pleased from Mosquera, young Spanish centre-back. We've got so much to look forward to in terms of him and his development. Looked very, very good. But of course, the headline remains. William Saliba is now injured for Arsenal. Another injury. Game week 3. And we've lost Saka, Havertz, Odegaard, Ben White, William Saliba. They are 5 starters for any club in the league. Frustrating. I also want to give Riccardo Calafiori his flowers. I thought he was absolutely brilliant today, limiting Mo Salah to 1 shot. And Mo Salah was weirdly very sort of quiet, very ineffective. His first touch wasn't quite there, couldn't really run at Calafiori. I thought Calafiori dealt with everything he was given. And I want to just praise him because before the game, James and I, in the match preview that's on the channel timeline, we were talking about that being the one decision that Arteta's got to make. Is it Miles Lewis-Skelly? Is it Riccardo Calafiori? We're lucky that we've got both available, and soon Piero Hincapié. But Calafiori, his biggest challenge is just to stay fit, because when he's fit, he's brilliant. I liked a lot of what I saw. In fact, I hope someone is making a comp of Ricky Calafiori's performance today at Anfield, because I thought he was really good. Let me know what you thought. Let's go back to the chat. Vivek says, Martinelli needs to be sold tomorrow. Replace him with Wissa or Semenyo. Antoine Semenyo would be a brilliant signing. But do we have any more money left? Who knows? Peter, we are frustrated because we've seen this story 3 years now. Game is there for the taking. We sit back on a 0-0, waiting for a corner. Shaking his head. Yeah, the game is there for the taking, was there for the taking, but just not courageous enough in the lineup. Paul James, we didn't play well. The stats don't reflect how little threat we carried. We started with 3 defensive midfielders. Highlights the problem in the absence of creativity. Indeed. Tise says the ref was low-key good today. He just let them play. He was, to be fair. He was, I thought. We criticize them when they're terrible, and they were terrible, and they are terrible most of the time. But ref was okay today, I thought. MI says, night and day difference between outswinging and in-swinging corners. Don't give us an edge. Yeah, we had a few corners, a few free kicks going into the box, but Liverpool defended well, and we just couldn't maximise on those, but I'm sure we'll get many more opportunities in the season. Omar says, Eza stalled because he thought he was offside. Yeah, you got to play to the whistle. This is professional footballers that we're talking about. Mosquera looks immense, says Jonathan. Thank you for that. Mosquera, Calafiori, and Madueke, all the highlights today, hence the slides. John says, what a steal at £15 million, Christian Mosquera. So young, so talented. Vlad says Calafiori's best performance defensively. I think he's going to get better and better the more football that he plays. He's just got to stay fit. He's quite courageous at going forward, often find himself in really advanced positions, and you're like, uh-oh, who's defending at the back? But of course, when you've got Gabriel sort of covering Zubamendi and Rice dropping in, Calafiori is free to roam. Mosquera looked unbelievable, says Paul Pavlinsky. We signed him for some peanuts and a bag of chips. What a signing. I get it. I hope Saliba is back, but he was really very good. Jeffrey says Mosquera was incredibly good. He could easily have lost his head considering the circumstances. Absolutely. Yes, your chats are absolutely visible, my friend. So thank you for that. I try and get through as many chats as I can. Obviously, if you're kind enough to donate to the channel and help towards running costs and give us a super chat, which would be amazing. They are all obviously read, but I try and get through as many chats as I can, but because there's a lot of people in the house tonight. Sampa says we cannot use injuries as an excuse, Latte. I've seen us win at Old Trafford without Henry and Pires. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I've used injury as an excuse today. Saliba going off was one thing, and Mosquera coming on was another. I think what I am pointing the finger at is the lack of courage in midfield to go with that flat three. Marino, I thought, was just a weird decision. If you've got Odegaard and Ezra on the bench, one of them has to start in a game of such magnitude. And Martinelli on the left-hand side, really ineffective on that left-hand side. Madueke played really well on the right. But when you've only got one side to kind of channel your attacks down because the other side, there's no sort of confidence, maybe you could have made changes quicker, faster, sooner. Let's talk about Noni. Really good performance. Obviously had a couple of stints now on the left-hand side for Arsenal, but played on the right-hand side today. I thought he was brilliant. Really, really good. I'm liking what I see from him. Really has a desire to run at his fullback. Showed his pace, showed his trickery a couple of times, won a couple of good corners for us. I think the end product will come. The assists, the passes, the crosses, the goals, I think will absolutely come. But it's Liverpool and they're a top team. John says, thanks for reading normal chats too. Love it, FK. Of course. Come on, man. You guys know this. Latte Firm was never set up to make money. You know that. Latte Firm is to give back to the community. But I appreciate, of course, all the channel members, the Patreon community, regular giveaways, access to match tickets. You guys get it. You guys make the show. Samba says, fair enough, Latte. Thanks for calling me Latte, man. I appreciate it. And talking of super chats, come on. The Alpha Male, thank you for your donation to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. There's no message on screen, but do come back to me in a chat and I will show the world what it is that you want to say. Anajit Welcome says, Noni showed right wing backup for Saka is his now. Good performance. But is that going to be all that we limit Noni to? I think Madueke's got the left wing if he wants it. Genuinely. I think the form that Martinelli is in, anyone could have a stab at that left wing. Ethan Wanieri should be a bit annoyed, says Leo. Yeah, look, Max Dowman getting some minutes ahead of Ethan today. Interesting. But Ethan has been told that he's going to play a bit more centrally. And we had to take off Noni because obviously, he's still early into the season. You can't really expect him to play 90 minutes. And Max Dowman is a player that's shown a lot of electrifying sort of excitement in pre-season and, of course, the first couple of games. So, yeah, Ethan Wanieri, interesting. Be interesting to see how he sort of reacts to that. Stamper goes on to say, fair enough. I see your point, Latte. Arteta really disappointed with the team selection and substitutions. I really was positive that we would test them. Madueke definitely made me eat a slice of humble pie and I enjoyed it, says Dave. Yeah, mate, you and me both. A lot of the world. Actually, no, to be fair, I thought Madueke would be a good signing, Dave. And as it says, Semenyo, or even better, Fofana is required for me on the left. Well, let's see. I mean, there's a day to go. Who knows? Andrea Berta is working absolute mental sort of work rate at the moment. You just never really know what he's got up his sleeve. Let's talk about the pressure on the gaffer because it is rising and it's yet another fixture away at Anfield where he has been unable to win. Etihad Stadium, no wins under Mikel Arteta. Goodison Park, St James's Park, City Ground, what have they got in common? They're tough places to go. Always have been for Arsenal. One win at those grounds in the league under Mikel Arteta. Is that cause for concern? I think we've played well in games at those grounds and not maybe won. Today, my biggest cause of concern is I think Mikel Arteta will be beating himself up on the bus home or the plane home or whatever it is that they're doing, train home, because I think he'll look back at that game and think, why didn't I just roll the dice and go with an attacking midfielder? I think he'll be making that facial expression on the right-hand side, basically. I think we really should have been bold and gone for that. And this is now going to be the monkey on his back. Like the gaffer's getting a lot of pressure from Arsenal fans, as you can see in the chat today, but also from the media. And he now has to deliver. It's really funny. We would get battered every season at grounds like that against the top teams. And then he comes in and we're undefeated against the big six in 22, 23 games. Fine. We've lost today thanks to an extraordinary free kick from Dominik Szoboszlai. Liverpool get the points. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram. But we can't beat Mikel with the same stick that you're sort of pushing him along and praising him. Our record against the big six is phenomenal. I think the one learning point he's got, or the coaching staff have got, and it's really patronizing because I'm just some middle-aged bloke talking to you guys on a Sunday night from my house, is that you have the weapons in your armory, Mikel. Just have a bit more faith in the attacking ones and just go for the kill. It might surprise you. But that is something that is going to happen. Leo says Goodison Park is gone. Yeah, it's the what is it? The Hill Dickinson Stadium now. And Everton look like they've had a good start to the season. Jonathan says, I don't think he will. FK Arteta is stubborn. In his post-match interview, he said we had the right approach. Yeah, maybe the right approach today was to kind of have control of the ball, try and dominate, try and tire down Liverpool or wear Liverpool down, and then bring on the attacking subs in the second half and almost finish strong and go for the kill. Sadly, just didn't work out. Reminds me, says Asheen, of when we went to City and didn't play for the win. Yeah, exactly that. Vic says, you were right, FK. Mourinho should have been sold. I had called you out over being overly critical on Mourinho. I don't think he offers much other than a goal here and there. Look, I don't want to call for Mourinho's head now. I think he's a useful player to have in the squad, Vigs. I appreciate you being so humble. And I've had some pretty horrific takes in my time, to be fair, so it's nice to get some praise for one. But Mourinho, look, I'm not going to forget what he did for us last season. Really good towards the back end. I'm just not sure what he offers as a starter. That's just my thought. Great to have him in the squad. Shouldn't have started today. Matthew says, that's it, FK. We have the players to attack, but we didn't use them. I think we're going to leave it there. Really difficult, like I say, to do post-match videos, especially after you've lost in such a sort of important game. But my closing thoughts are that it was probably a game that was worthy of a draw. Had we have drawn, I would have been, okay, that's cool. Had Liverpool have drawn, I think they probably would have felt the same thing. The fact is we've been beaten by a brilliant free kick. We should have been bolder in attack. We should have been more courageous, more assertive, not played a sort of flat middle three. I think Arteta will regret that, sorry. Bad injury to William Saliba. Mosquera, fantastic. Fury, brilliant. Madueke, promising. Martinelli, questions are there. As another super chat, thank you so much. Very, very generous of you. Really appreciate it. Arteta talked about 7 to 8 transitions against Manchester United like basketball. Sounds like he thinks they're not chances to attack, but to be cautious about. Look, we know that Mikel Arteta is a very defensively astute and very cautious type manager. Wants to control, wants to play, minimize chance of conceding goals. Our defensive record will be brilliant this season, no doubt about it at all. But we need to be more courageous in attack. Simple as that. Jonathan says, great reaction show. Disappointed, but we go again. Come on, you Gunners. Yeah, the international break is it's gonna great. But we'll have some daily content. How about that? We will make up for it. Vlad says, cheers, FK. Tough one, but these are great nonetheless. We go again. Thanks for the therapy. Big up to Poetic Justice. Thanks for the chat. Hey, listen, Kyle, you're here. You're in the chat. You'll never walk alone. It's 3 points for you guys, but the season is far from over. We shall see what happens. I will be back tomorrow with Woz for a match reaction. We'll talk about what really went wrong. We'll have a deeper dive into individual performances. Do join me for that, and we'll bring back the big guns during the week for some therapy and some much needed Arsenal content. Look after yourselves. Take care. Don't take it too hard. There's a long way to go. Bye for now.